Greetings, travelers through time and space and dimensions unknown. I didn't do anything today, and I did even less yesterday, but I've made some progress with my setup. Except for the fact that my backing plates for my mirrors I don't think they're going to work, and I may have to rebuild them again for the third time. So that's why I kind of gave up on everything. However, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised tonight because we're going to talk about things that can happen in the interferometer that we don't want to happen, so we need to know what these things are, and if there's problems, we need to know how to recognize the stuff that's not supposed to be there. I don't know if you all heard that or not, but yeah, I think you did. My mic is kind of like over here. Music's a bit loud, that's okay. But right now, I'm just chilling. Believe it or not, I actually have a makeshift interferometer set up. I'm going to talk about the object under test. I'm going to talk about the beam splitter and the beam splitter that I've seen people use, which whether or not I can use it or not remains to be seen, and that's why we have to talk about what's called the index of refraction, diffraction, refraction, and reflection. And as it turns out, lenses, not just mirrors, but lenses will reflect a signal. I should bring up my paint program so that I can talk about the reflection issues with the lenses. This can be minimized. And we'll go into some basic stuff. So there is things like angles. There's a diffraction angle depending on the medium that the light goes through. Someone typed in the image. They don't even know how to spell. They typed in refractive index instead of refractive index. So what I also discovered is that sound travels faster in water. It's kind of weird. Light travels slower in water. So that's a misnomer too. I've been trying to understand the speed of light in different types of mediums. It's not that the light travels slower, it's that the light takes longer to get from point A to point B, but it's still traveling at the speed of light. So that's something that's a consideration, but that's not what I'm going to be talking about. Well, I'm going to get my paint program up here. I'll turn the music down in a minute, and we're going to talk about this good stuff here. Let's see here. Let's see if paint comes up. So that's actually, here's my paint image. Let's move this. Let's put this up here. And let's turn the music down a little. So I listened to a couple. Well, no, I listened to Richard Feynman's explanation of um, when a photon travels, it's considering an infinite number of paths to travel. He had some kind of conversation about um, the light bouncing off or the light heading towards the mirror, and once it hits the mirror, it has any number of. Well, no, once it hits the mirror, it's going to hit the mirror at a certain angle, and that angle is reflected accordingly. So basically, I'm just wanting to talk about this um, index of refraction. I'll get to that in a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a new here and go like that. So the fact that lenses have a reflection, I'm going to draw a picture of a, well, there's two basic kinds of lens. There's convex lens and there's concave lens. I never can keep them straight. So let's see here. So a convex lens points outward, a concave lens points inward, and they've got some pictures and so on and so forth, but I'm not going to go into that. So let's draw a picture here. Let's use green, and we use this line. No, this one. So that's weird. I've got this. That is so weird. I have this this thing lately. Like I'm looking into 3 dimensions. You know, like this thing is like. It's not like 2D. It's like I'm looking into the z-axis when I'm doing that. Why am I feeling that? Yeah, it's got to go this way. Well, anyway, imagine that you're looking at the edge. This is like the edge of the. Why do I get this 3-dimensional thing happening in my head? So, when the light comes in, let's say, like you've got, see how the lens kind of curves towards the right when it goes up, and it curves, towards the way it goes. So, if the light, let's say the light is collimated. A collimated beam means all the light beams are straight going into the lens. So, like, let's see here. So it'd be like that. That's one of them. And then you've got one over here. Let's say. And then you got one down here. And of course there's a whole bunch of these beams, right? So when this beam hits this lens, it's obviously going to go through and get refracted. But there's also going to be a reflection off the lens, and that reflection is going to be, like if it's a collimated beam, it's going to follow the direction of the lens, and it's going to go back at a lighter, it's not going to be quite so bright type of thing. So, and most of the lens energy is actually going to be, it's going to be in the middle. So that tells me that there's going to be a certain amount of reflection going back into the test object. Well, that's just going to muck things up a little, ain't it? This should be a line. Yeah, so you got the line. Now these guys out here, you know, if there's another beam that's reflecting off like that, maybe, and so on and so forth. And the test object, we'll say is, I didn't want to use that one. Say the test object is like this. I'm guessing the test object is about half of the diameter of the main focus lens. So all the energy, which I should probably do another line here. All of the energy is, well, there's energy going in. You've got, actually that's not right either. Let's use red. No, wait. Red, green. Let's use this green color. And then, let's see here. So, the green represents light coming from the source, going down through the beam splitter, and it represents all of the colors. Red, green, blue, purple, whatever. And then it bounces off the mirror. There's a mirror back here. And so it bounces off of that mirror, and then it goes back through the test object, and then it goes back through the lens and through the beam splitter and out to the detector. So there's going to be I don't even know if that's the right size or not. Yeah, it is. There's going to be a certain amount of energy that's going to get reflected back. And the center of that lens so let's say that the energy going through is at, hypothetically, ideally, let's say it's 100%. So let's do this and this. How we type, oops. Is 100%. We could actually light energy reflected I don't think it's that much, but let's just say hypothetically, okay? So that means we can use a green color line, and we'll use this one, and we'll just use one beam. I'm just gonna set it on top right here. And then we go here. Actually, what that should read is the net light energy. Net light energy out, and this is going to be oops, save as JPG pictures. We're going to call this LW light light energy reflected 1. There's a lot of theory that goes into this, and there's even more theory that goes into it, which I'm really not going to get into, and that's the mathematical aspect of things and the classical quantum mechanics of the things, how the particles reflect and the angles and all that kind of stuff. We don't need to get too deep into that. So anyway, also, let's put in another circle, and that circle's going to be that size. We'll make it like right about here. No, it's not going to work out very well. So that circle there, the orange circle, let's put in here. We could say polarizer and or filters. So the filter, let's use a blue one. We'll put another circle in. So here's a question. I don't know yet if the filter should go before or after. So for now, I'm just going to cross over that line here. That's okay. Shit. Spelled guess wrong. So what do I say before? Let's say that, let me just go ahead and grab a little box here. I'm going to get rid of some of this garbage on the screen. So we have just as in audio, we have an amplifier system and we have a filter system. So I think the amps come before the filters. So the reason for that would be you'd want to amplify everything, and then you would want to filter out stuff, filter out what you're looking for. But how does that work with the noise? So what is the signal to noise ratio effect of putting the filter before or after? And it's sort of a consideration, but it's a little bit besides what the point of my stream. I just threw this in there because this was something that I'm thinking about. So you've got these, you've got this filter, you've got this polarizer, you've got this focus lens. That, come to think of it now, actually, that focus lens is only part of the tuned cavity that I'm introducing into the interferometer. There is no focus lens, or there could be one before the beam splitter, but I'm thinking not. I don't know. The tune cavity is kind of a separate little thing, and it adds something to my setup. It probably adds more confusion than it's worth, but anyway. Each one of these objects that you introduce into the picture is going to do something. So let's say these are flat objects. Okay, we'll go back to let's go back to the square, and I think it's that size. So let's say we've got over here, we got this here. I'm going to exaggerate the size, and then we've got orange, and then we've got green. Now the green one is a lens. So let's make that, we have to make that a circle. And then we'll use a yellow and a straight line. And so when light goes into an object, when light goes into a medium, what happens is it doesn't come out exactly on the same plane that it went in. What happens is that its angle changes, and then it comes back out down here. So maybe that's okay. So like if we have another beam, let's say, and I mean right here, actually in this particular picture, like all these things are kind of lined up. Oh, that should have been orange. Let's see. Shit. So in this particular case, one of the beams, eventually a bunch of these beams are going to get lost down at the bottom. They're not going to go through this next section, this next filter, polarizer, whatever. So if all of the beams are shifted upward, it takes into account this index of refraction of these lenses and these filters and polarizers and stuff. I don't know exactly what kind of effect that's going to have yet. Some of this is trial by error. I'll just deal with it when it happens, right? So then, let's say you've got that situation, and then we go here, and we'll say that this light beam at the bottom, let's say, it's actually turns into this one up here. So these filters, now the filter is made of a thin type of plastic, and it's got this color in it. And I have a book of these filters with, there must be 1,000. I mean, there's a crap ton of colored filters, and they all have a spectral range, and they're pretty decent. I mean, I don't know exactly, like, some of them are kind of mixed, and I mean, there's a whole, it's just so many different colors. And they're kind of grouped in red, green, yellow, and blue, which is a good thing. It'll be easier for me to find them. The filters themselves are like they're made of this very, very thin plastic. So the refractive index of the light going through them is going to be very small. The polarizer, on the other hand, is a piece of glass, and it's a little bit thicker. Whether that needs to be moved up and down or sideways or whatever, I have no idea, to center the beam. And the only beam that I have to tune this interferometer is a red laser beam. Now, I'm working with, and I'm going to try to demonstrate that, but I'm probably not going to have much luck. I'm working with a pinhole to try to get a pinhole of white light going through the system and see if I can see what happens with the white light. And then I've got the laser, of course, which is around 600 nanometers. Now, also, depending on the wavelength of the light, the refractive index may also be slightly different depending on the color. So that's kind of that situation. Now, also, let me go back to yellow, back to the thin line. You've got more, oopsie daisy. You've got more reflection coming off the filter because it's reflecting light. Everything is reflecting light. The polarizers are reflecting light. You got the polarizer next to this thing here. So now you've got light, you got this thing here, and you've got this reflection. Reflections, and they're going both ways. Now, how that interferes with the test signal or not, I have no idea. I really don't know. It's a thing that happens. And it's something that I didn't even consider when putting all this interferometer stuff together. But if there's issues, if there's fuzziness or graininess or weird crap happening, or all of this reflections is going to add to the noise. So the first thing we would do is we would set up this white light. We would set up the worst case scenario and find out exactly what the noise is. We put a filter, we put the plastic that's made, whatever. Well, of course the noise might go down depending on the filter. But if you use a clear plastic of that material that's used, and then put that in front of the polarizer, and then not have the tune cavity in there, I think we could come up with a baseline for noise. And that would be anything, when you put the filter in, that's going to lessen the amount of noise. You put the polarizer in, that's going to lessen the amount of noise and increase the signal. So I think that's what's going to happen. But still, you lose light going through all of this. And then when you get to the beam splitter, I've noticed, let's use this color here, and we'll use a line. And the beam splitter, well, that's really not the size I want. Beam splitter is going to be, so my beam splitter is actually, I need to draw this too, don't I? My beam splitter, that's a picture of a typical beam splitter, but my beam splitter is going to look like this. This is an exaggerated view of my beam splitter. So the light comes in reflects off the first mirror, and what's going to happen, let's use this dark color, it's going to diffract, so let's say, and then it's gonna diffract, and it's going to reflect off of that back section. Now maybe I don't know. I don't really know. But what I do know is, and then it goes down through here. Alright, and it bounces. Then you've got, now the worst case scenario is, well, this is you're gonna have two beams here. Now, if this mirror is tilted, if it's perfectly in alignment, you're gonna see one dot. Maybe that's a problem, because that means the secondary reflection is going to come right on the line of the first one. So let's say if this was an angle, let's say if it was off, what the hell am I doing? Fuck. You know, let's say it looks like this. That's not quite lined up right. You know, then you've got this. You've got, I'll just make that a red line, so this goes up here. And then you've got that. That's coming from one of the beams. So you got two beams there, and this is gonna diffract off of this one, and you know, you got another one here, and then you got, assuming that this is a a regular mirror. That's what I'm gonna do. My first setup when I do this demo, it's gonna have these regular mirrors, because I want to see the two reflections. Jeez, I'm dying here. So let me just do something over here. I'm going to put a little thing here. I'm going to say mirrors, oops, fuck, M1 and M2. So like this one here, this is M2, and then what is that dark red? And that one's M1. Now, the size, don't worry about the size, it's just the idea of the thing. So you've got reflections, you've got index of refractions, considering. So the final product in the interferometer build, mirrors M1 and M2 are going to be what's called first surface mirrors. What that means is that there's no reflection in the back. So when this light beam comes off of here, it's going to be one beam like this. And I'm making that big just to make a point. And I'll do another one over here. So these big arrows represent a final product. Now my beam splitter, considering what it is, instead of having 4 beams going out to the detector, I may only have 2. And that's as a result of the beam splitter doing its stupid ass thing. You get the normal beam splitter, when you get it, it looks like this one at the top. And it's called a 50% 50% throughput and 50% reflectivity. But you lose, I think the final output ends up being 25%, which is a bit low. And they're suggesting to put polarizers before, wait, no. I'm not sure. No, they're talking about the spatial filter, which is a pinhole. They're suggesting to put a pinhole before and after the beam splitter. Which would almost imply pinholes from the calibration beam on the bottom, a pinhole from the test object, and another pinhole at the output. Those are called spatial filters, and what they do is they clean up the signal. It's sort of like a collimated beam, but it's not, because when you move it further away, you can use it to focus with. You can use those pinholes maybe to focus with. Maybe that's something I can look into when I get this demo and I shut my mouth up here. Because I got my interferometer, it's set up, sort of. I've got a couple ideas. So one of my first surface mirrors is actually a plate of, it looks like chrome, or it was actually a mirror in a toy set that I tore all apart to get the parts out of, and the plastic and everything. And it actually looks, so it's a piece of metal. It's not aluminum. I think it's chrome or something. And we're going to look at the different, I've got a glass slide for a beam splitter. I've got the CD cover, the plastic CD cover for a beam splitter. If I look at, let's see here, I got 2 or 3 lasers here. Let's see, that one looks actually brighter. We should have a power level meter for the light too, That would be nice to know. Let's see here. So that's got kind of a thickness. Yeah, they're about the same thickness actually. Oh wait, no. Wait, that's the edge. Yeah, I think the CD case is a little thinner. And I also have some glass, which I didn't. I've got some. I got some glass that's pretty thin. I guess you can even use a regular piece of glass. Who knows? Yep. So that's that issue about refraction. Let's just go ahead and minimize this, and let's go to the website, and I want to talk a little bit about refraction, diffraction, and also what's called knife edge diffraction in radio wave propagation. And I knew about this, and I'm thinking that's interesting because they use the knife edge in front of the camera when they set up the Schlering setup with the convex mirror at the end in front of the test object. And they also said you could use an interferometer setup with that in order to set that up too. So I gotta come up with a way to switch that out. I think I know how to do it too. I'm gonna have the mirror number one is gonna be on a slide that goes back and forth. So it may be possible to put the concave or the convex lens. No, it's a concave lens. I can't even frickin' remember which one. It's the concave lens, which is like a parabolic reflector. I may be able to put that on one end and put the first surface mirror on the other and switch between the two. That's a trick. That's a trick. Yeah, where's my web page? Let's bring up my web page here. That's Edge. Let's just look at, well, like the different lenses. Okay, so there's the convex lens on the left, and there's the concave lens. Now, I have a double concave lens in my tuning cavity, and so that actually it actually focuses. Like the light comes in here, but there's actually a focus point on the other side of this lens. So when you look down in here, it focuses down into this section here. There's a focus point there. And the whole reason for the tuning cavity is to reflect both. There's a concave lens on either end of the tuning cavity, and the whole idea is to come up with is to use reflection. So a test object signal comes in and it starts reflecting back and forth, and we do things. We find a standing wave which amplifies the signal by moving the mirror, the lens. We change the filters to see, what signal is the best coming from that test object. And the test objects basically are crystals. I want to do things with the test objects that I don't know what yet. My thinking is when light goes through the test object, it has this index of refraction, and let's see here, wait, no. Index of refraction of quartz. Quartz and iron, what is that? I don't know what that is. Quartz substrate, refractive index. Index of refraction of minerals. What's this here? I don't know what that shit is. Some of this crap is I've got mica, I've got quartz. I've got the calcite. So the numbers are like, 1.2 in that range, all of this stuff. So they basically have the same refractive index, except they're different material. Now, my question is, when the light interferes with when the light particles interfere with the particles in the test object, would it act like a lighthouse in a different dimension? The problem is that when the light goes in there, well, no, it doesn't slow down, does it? It remains at the speed of light. And another thing I haven't had the idea is to take the test object and put it inside the tuning cavity at the focal point. When I set that up, maybe that's something I could think about. But I have another material, it's called selenite, and it's probably the same, like they're all glass type stuff. It's just where the light bends, it comes out at this angle. So, but the funny thing is, when the light goes in there, it bounces all these little photons are bouncing all over the place, So, how do they know, if they're using all this infinite paths, how do they know to come out at this particular angle, Like, this is like information from this material. It's the way the atoms interact and the energy levels dictate the angle. One atom, maybe. So the photon interacts with the atom, it bounces the atom to a different energy level, and that energy level emits another photon, and that photon comes off at a certain angle. And all the other resulting photons do the same thing. However, well, yeah. But what if the material itself has this diffraction grating? What if the diffraction grating's like a slit too? It kind of just does weird things. There's some stuff over here. The other thing is, there's liquids, and I'm not going to go into that demo, honestly, because what I want to do is get into this interferometer and see what happens. Because when the light goes through the glass and then goes through water and then it comes out, you can see that there's a difference in the picture. It's the same picture, it's just kind of shifted. So I'm not even going to bother with that. I want to look at the beam splitters is my goal tonight. And I want to talk about, so we've talked about the index of refraction, how the light bends through the material. And we talk about the reflections off of everything that's in this interferometer. There's reflections, but maybe they're at a low enough level so as not to cause a problem. Maybe that's something I can investigate. Or there's a secondary reflection, let's put it that way, off that beam splitter. Well, that would infer two dots onto the test object, wouldn't it? I could move that. I got a paper with a line on it. I could move it to the other side and see if there's two dots that show up there. So there's this knife edge diffraction in radio waves. And so what happens is the radio waves hit the top of the mountain, and the point at where it hits the top of the mountain, it bends the light back down This is all the same information. Okay, so that's the idea that they were doing with this knife edge thing in front of the camera to get the slurring effect. And what it does is it changes. It blocks out one of the colors and leaves the darker area, so you can see the difference in the hue of the things that's in the atmosphere. And they also did something with ultrasonic waves where you could see the waves, which I didn't really get into that part of it yet. What they were doing is talking about the difference in heat. Like they had a candle flame, and you could see the heat type of thing. Air density changes. No, I don't think it was air density. I think it was temperature changes, which maybe indirectly changes air density. And then you could do, like, you could put an airplane foil in the path of the changing air density and see how it rolls up over the foil. You can see things with the camera that you can't see with the eye. And the camera, the video camera and the audio tape recorder is where all the interesting shit happens. And I'm not going to all that, but that's just how it goes. And so that's why we set up a camera. That's why, we set up a camera, and my setup is going to have the camera plus it may have another beam splitter. One goes to the camera and one goes to the video to audio. And I'm going to lose another 50%. So I'll have like 12.5% of energy coming through there. But maybe I'll get lucky and the polarizer will do something for me. But the polarizer supposedly it only affects the electric portion of the light wave. Which is counterintuitive, because my thinking is that the energy that I'm looking for is the magnetic portion of the light wave. Yep. And they use high voltage electricity to change the paths of the light in oscilloscopes and so on and so forth. They do what's called the Faraday effect, where they put a coil with high current around the light wave and they manage it to make it brighter. I guess they made it brighter. So, there's the Faraday effect, which I may add to the system. I may try to use the Faraday effect to set up a transmit-receive system with the light wave inside the tuning cavity. But that's down the road. The whole idea behind the beginning of this stuff is to test your equipment and find out what works, what doesn't, and when it doesn't work, why doesn't it work? So yeah, that's the whole idea about this knife edge diffraction thing. Maybe there's something we could do with the knife edge and the mirror, the interferometer setup, and not the slurring setup, in order to do something with the light wave. Now, if that knife edge is at a certain polarization, and the electric wave is vertical, what if we take the knife edge and put it vertical? Will that eliminate the electric portion of the light wave without polarizing it? It's a physical aspect change versus an optical. That's interesting. You could take a razor blade and put it on a rotator and have it centered to the light beam and rotate that razor blade around and see what happens to that light beam. I don't think anybody's ever done that either. I think about this shit. It's pretty cool. So, we talked about reflection off of stuff. We talked about diffraction here. We talked about the index of refraction of different materials where the light changes. And we cleared the air regarding the speed of light. The speed of light remains constant in a medium, but for some reason they say it's a lower number. The velocity changes. And that's where the tuning cavity is going to play a big role in that situation. And there's going to be a liquid in there, so I actually I've got some mineral oil. Maybe I got some water. Maybe we could do something. We could run a beam through that water in a calibrated beam and just see what happens to that dot, you know? I think that'd be cool to do. So that takes care of this. And that takes care of this. And so what we're going to do, and I may have to use the restroom real quick here. I'm going to do this here. This is my illustrious interferometer set with everything all mashed up in there. I don't need my earphones on. And so, you know what I'm going to actually do? I'm going to reverse the beam splitter so that you can kind of see it on the camera, because I think you can see. This is the paper that's got the line on it. And eventually, you can see that. Oh, well, what the hell? Oh, I'm seeing a reflection off my... So I don't, you know, you can't see it that well, but hey. So that's that part. This part here, that's the beam splitter, which is not lined up very well. All of these things are on a magnet, and also this case right here. I got a black material, which is the stuff that you use for sewer systems, you know. But I have another black material that is actually more absorbent to light. But I just put that up there to protect the aluminum that's behind it. And that's going to be in addition to the system. So, down at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it or not, there's a mirror, and that mirror has already collected dust. Let me get my dust brush. I've got a dust brush. Let's see here. What if I left it down here? What the hell would I do with it? I don't believe I put it down there. What the fuck did I do with that brush? Let's see. I don't know what I did with it. Bear with me, people. Fuck. I figure out what the hell I did with that. It probably is not going to matter for purposes of what I'm doing. I'm always so late, you know? I just have issues with... I got some issues with light. Not light. Yeah, I get issues with that too. Issues with life. There's a lot of shit to go through. Oh, this is one of my... That's my mirror plate. What the hell is it doing there? I don't know if that brush is here. What the hell would I do with that damn brush? I just spent so much time cleaning that. Now I can't find it. Yeah, and just think, once this thing is set up and calibrated, there's a whole nother section of stuff that's added to this. And that's called electronics. And I mean a lot. A lot of noise analysis and stuff. That's where the good stuff is. And I don't know what the fuck I did with that brush. Did I put it? I didn't put it in here. Shit. Yeah, I'm a little bit discombobulated when it comes to tools. I'm trying to get my crap organized, and I don't know. You know, I just got crap going on. I don't know where that brush is. Is that the? What is this? Is that that one that I found? Oh, I think it is. I gotta be careful with this board too. I gotta show you this stuff. I got some stuff regarding light reflection, and let me tell you, I found this off a printer, and I'm telling you, this thing is going to be so freaking amazing. I don't know, I can't find the damn brush. I don't know what I did with it. I gotta go use the restroom. I just want to show you this thing really quick. I don't know, see if I can do it or not. I gotta bring up my OBS. I may have to use the restroom really quick. So, damn it. There's this piece of plastic that I got off a printer. Where's that camera? Actually, and this plastic, it's black. It's just a black piece of plastic, right? You know, nothing serious. You know, it reflects a little bit, right? You know, it's got this little thing on the back and stuff like that. You know, and if you also notice, when I handle this stuff, I don't touch these things. I should have my gloves on, but I don't. I want to see if I can show you something about this. What is really, really cool about this? So this actually reflects. It has a reflective property, even though it's black, right? Okay, it still reflects light. But I want to see if I can show you something. So like, if it's black like this, okay, you would think there's no noise, right? Wrong. This is not just glossy black. It's got a very peculiar property, and this, I want to show you this, and this is so freaking amazing. When I found this, I was like, oh my god, it's like finding a freaking diamond in the rough, right? Okay, well, that's, the hell is that dust? It's probably where I touched it with my fingers. But anyway, if you look carefully at the reflection, if I can get it just right, you can see all the little dots in there. Like when I look at it, you know, I can't see it with this thing. Wait just a minute here. Let me get my all these damn flashlights we got now are LED, and they suck. They got this color that's just crappy. Basically, it's glitter, okay? There's glitter built into this. See all the little spots? see all those little spots in there. Well, the reason why this is like a diamond in the rough is because the spots they're reflective and they're close together. And so, yeah, you can kind of see it a little bit better there. So what that means is that is a noise source. It's a source of noise. It's a source of beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, random noise. You know, and it could be it's going to represent a color. It's going to represent some sort of a level. It's like when you have different kinds of noise in an audio system. That's what this is. It's like black noise. I could call it black noise or whatever. But this noise from this stuff, this is coming from light. It's not coming from audio. This is a light, and it's going to represent a much higher signal-to-noise ratio than the electronics that measure the noise coming off of this piece of plastic. Oh yeah, baby. I know what I'm talking about. So, there's that. And that really needs to be in a happy home. If we were to look at... Now, this is another thing. I really... We're talking about reflection, okay? So this color here is not particularly white. But now if you look at this piece here, it's got more of a, you don't see all those little sparkles in there. This is just a piece of whitish plastic, right? Now we've got, I'm going to show you something else here. Or am I? It was actually in this little goodie box that I got here. No, that's not what I was hoping to find. Well, I have all kinds of material that represent different aspects of what I call light noise. I'll just get one of them to show you what I mean. Well, actually, there's something in the hallway too. Alright, so I'm going to grab one of these. So this is all part of reflection. It's all part of reflection, refraction, diffraction, all that kind of good stuff. Now, this particular item is a divider. It's kind of dirty looking. God in heaven. Well, I'm not worried about that right now. It's a divider that goes in those little kits. It has a unique property. Or does it? Now this is just kind of dirty. It needs to be cleaned. I just use my oily fingers to clean it. So the unique property, well, it's got two unique properties. It's kind of smooth and shiny on one side, and it's rough on the other. I'll show you the shiny side first. But it's translucent, so light can go through it. So this is your divider. It goes in there. And it's a noise source. All of this stuff is sources of noise. You wouldn't think about that, but it is. So anyway, that's the shiny reflective side. And it does, you know, you can kind of see them spots back there because but whatever, that's the rough side. This is the rough side here. So you can see how it's, it's got this, you can't really see through it that good. Let me see if I can put the light through it and see what happens here. So you can see there's some lettering. It doesn't really give it justice, like if I put this in front of the camera, there's my finger, it's clear here, but back here it's fuzzy, right? So, maybe I'm only getting 5% of the information, all right? Here's 100%, come we can line that up. That's 100% where my finger is, and then when I put it behind this, there's something there, but I'm only getting maybe 2 to 5% or something like that. So what this does is it adds a humongous amount of noise. It's supposed to add noise to the system is what it does. And you can use it, you can either bounce the light off the rough section, or you can just send the light through, and when you send the light through, so on and so forth. So maybe we can actually add this we can make this a beam splitter, all right, and see what happens to the wave. That would be kind of interesting, I think. I'll put this over here, and then I want to show you one other thing, I guess. It's kind of like, it's more like giving you the idea about how sophisticated this setup is going to be. I.e., this is not just an interferometer. This is not just an interferometer. It's a Lightwave communications device. But we won't get into that, will we? So this here is another one. And this is actually, this was a top to a little stereo system or something, It's just plastic, People look at this and say, oh, it's just a piece of garbage, right? Wrong. So the actual color of this, it's got kind of a smoky color. And it's not, the clear part's got lines through it, probably where I cleaned it and stuff. It's not really that great. But this can be cut up and used as part of the optical system. I gotta show you this though. So, like I said on the first one there, so you've got this stuff here is clear, but look what it's got up here. It's got this frosted texture, right? And I think, let me see here. See if I do this. Okay. Like I could even, what I could actually do is I could do this. I could take my fingernail and rub across this and record it, right? I could record, see a reflection? There's reflection there. Where the hell is my finger? Right here? Why can't you see that? So when I do that, alright, you can't really hear nothing. Okay, it's quiet. When I go up here, so that makes a noise, alright, when I go across like this. Now if I use a different item, let's say I don't want to scratch it up. Let's say if I use a piece of plastic. I'll use this ruler. Now there's more surface area, so. And I know it's not in front of the mic. I don't care about that. So it makes a noise. Let's do this laser. Here's metal on plastic. that's the clear. That's the noisy part. So that would be a way, let's say that would be a way of collecting some audio information of the noise on this piece of plastic. And then when you run the light through it, you know, so on and so forth. So you can see the interferometer case back here. Now if I go to the laser, I'll use the strong one. Well, actually, wait. So if I go, if I put this camera right in front of this thing, look at the reflectivity. See how much reflection is coming off of that? There's a lot of reflection there. So if I move this down here, let's say, if I move this closer and have this, you know, right on the wall, let's say that we put this piece of plastic right up against. So what's happening is that this light is actually, you can focus this light. See, look at the dirt right there. There's some dirt or something. So just by moving the light from that plastic, you know, you can see the dirt and stuff. And the noise, you really can't tell. You got to do the laser. And let's see here. You probably can't even see it on. All right, so there's the laser dot there. Let's put this in front of it. And now, of course, you can't see it because the thing is in the way. Now, you know, it's cutting down the light a little bit, and it may not be the right wavelength. You know, it's kind of clear. Now let's see what happens when I go into the fuzzy part. Kind of blocks the light out altogether. Let's see what happens here when I go up to the white paper. It spreads the beam out a lot. So yeah, that's just messing with the noise of that thing. Let's see. So that's a little bit of introduction into reflection and noise, and a way to compare audio noise to video noise and see what the difference is, because I can convert the light to sound and see what that sounds like and compare the two. All right, now what I really want to do is test these beam splitters and try to set up this dot on the screen here. I don't know why. What is oh, this is this plastic back here. Let's see if I can cover that so it's not as distracting. Alright. So down at the bottom I got a first surface mirror. What we're going to do is just remove that. I will use this big mirror right here, and I'm going to put this on the bottom, which it looks like you can't really see. really see it, can you? Alright, so there's the big mirror. Where's my little flashlight here? You really can't see it, but that's the big round mirror. The beam splitter is here. The paper is over here with a line, and the light needs to come in from the top. It will go down, hit this mirror, hit the beam splitter, and go back onto the light. Now I've got another mirror over here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of the picture so it doesn't reflect back into the beam splitter, and it will just go over there and do whatever the heck it wants to do. I'm going to move this down, I think, so that I can put the other mirror in a little closer. So the first thing we need to do is just to try to get the dot to show up on that paper. And I'm not using a slit, I'm not using a pinhole, although I've got a pinhole. Actually, that's the pinhole right here, I think. I don't know if I can use the pinhole. I might have to make it bigger. It's going to be really hard to do. What a pinhole does is it cleans up the signal quite a lot. Let's try it without the pinhole first, because the laser itself is pointy. And of course I should have safety glasses on, but I don't. Let me see here. I got that mirror up there as far as I can get it. Maybe this has got to be. Let me try to. Let's just reflect. Let's reflect off of the beam splitter into the paper. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's pretty good. So we've got a reflection off of the beam splitter. So the reflective aspect on that side is pretty good. This is the CD case, and that's not 45 degrees either for some reason. This is a plastic CD case that's allowing me to do this, and that needs to be 45 degrees. Let's see if we can just go ahead and it's not coming off at 45 degrees onto the mirror. That's fucking weird. That is weird. Like, I don't know. Alright, I need to get this crap out of the way here. These magnets are like super strong. I gotta be careful. See, what I don't understand is that the light beam should be perpendicular Oh no, wait a minute. Okay, so let me run the beam down through the bottom. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to do, huh? Now the question is that the reflected beam? It has to be, right? Now, of course, the other mirror, I don't know if my arm might be in the way. Let's see. Get that freaking beam up there. Yeah. Oh, you know what's really weird? I see two dots looking at the OBS, and there's only one dot over here. It's because it's further away or something. So I'm trying to get it centered on the beam splitter. Now I'm moving mirror number 2. It's centered on the beam splitter. Now if I look at the camera, I think I see two dots up there. But it's not doing what I want it to do. It needs to go straight down. Ah, you fucker, you. I'm trying to find the beam coming, the reflected beam. But I can't find it. It's right there. I see what looks to be like two beams on the camera. There's actually a knife edge on the... But is that... I don't know if that's the reflected beam or if that's just coming off the mirror because it's too bright, you know? see. I can see the two beams on the beam splitter. But that's just a reflected beam. And you know the... Well, why the fuck? Yeah, the problem I've got... Let me try the first surface mirror and see if that will improve my odds of seeing something useful. Now that's definitely coming off the mirror itself. And it's not coming off the reflected beam. Oh, you know what's happening? Wait. Wait a minute. You know what? You know what? This is working. What am I thinking? Because why I'm not seeing the two dots is because I don't have the other mirror on the other side. I was just looking for that one mirror. So this is the reflected beam then, because I can move it. Just has to be lined up to... I just have to tilt it more or something. I had it on there. Wow, okay. So that's the reflected beam then. Yeah, I can see that on the mirror. Okay, so let's take that mirror out. Now what we're going to do is go from the beam splitter to the test mirror. And the test mirror, I've got I wonder if I can use this big ass mirror. So that reflected beam coming back through the beam splitter was pretty strong. I'm like, wow, okay, so that's the calibrated beam. The calibrated beam reflected back into the beam splitter on that white piece of paper was just as bright as the beam going through it. So what's up with that? So now we're going to try the reflected beam, which is mirror M1. And maybe I can get this to hold still. My magnet was grabbing my keychain. Like way the hell over there. Oh my god, what the fuck? Oh my god, that magnetic force is so freaking strong. Let me get rid of this. So another thing I'm noticing is there's a lot of reflectivity of the light coming off of this black material that's in here. I wouldn't think it would be that reflective, but it is. So that beam that's on that paper, that's the beam coming from mirror number 1. Damn. Now what if I go straight through? Okay, that's pretty bright. So there is loss of signal. Oh yeah, that's quite bright. I don't know if you can see that yet. See how bright that is? And then we go to here. That's off of the mirror. Now I'm impressed. I am very impressed with this plastic beam splitter. I'm like, you know, even with using these double mirrors. Now let's put this other mirror in here on the bottom. And I think, right, that's going to use this one. This is a double mirror. Now we're actually working with this interferometer, which, you know, I mean, I'm wondering about the beam splitter thing. Oh shit, I moved that fucking thing, didn't I? And we probably have to get the mirror closer and whatever. Let's calibrate the bottom mirror as best as I can. I can see the 2 dots, but where the hell? Yeah, it's going to be fun trying to tune this, huh? Jeez. that dot. Now when I go put the other, oh, you know, I could use this. No, I don't want to use that one. Let's put this one in here. These are just double reflective mirrors, you know. They're not first surface mirrors or nothing. Now we should see two dots. But to try and line up both of the dots is it'd be pretty much impossible. Oh, there it is, right there. There's the one on the bottom. There's the one on the bottom there. And there's two dots there, but they're not lined up, of course. Now if I can find, the other one is so damn far down, it probably has to do with the beam splitter. Change that angle. And that's the bottom one. Oh, there's the top one. Oh, there they are. Look at that, baby! Look at that, by hand. I got two dots. Just doing it by hand, you know? No, I don't think I can. There's no way I'm going to be able to get that other shit in there. So, I wonder, let's see here. I got two beautiful dots right there. So I'm going to take out let's take out the bottom one. Don't ruin my mirror. And we're going to put the first surface mirror on the bottom. The intensities were about the same. Wait, where's my okay, there's dot number 1. And there's dot number 2. Oh, look how much clearer dot number 2 is. Why in the hell am I getting it over there? There it is. Oh, it's about the same. It looks nice and clean though. You know? opacity. Let's put this other mirror back in here again. Or not. You know, they don't look that bad, honestly. I gotta tilt that mirror. I can't find that damn fucking dot. No, I can't find that second dot now. Let's do this. Let's forget about the bottom mirror. And I can tell from my setup that what that beam splitter is doing. Okay? And I'm more than impressed, except for the fact that maybe it's double diffracting. So, I'm going to take this one out. I'm going to put the other one in. Which is the glass slide. Uh-oh. Oh, I see a problem with the glass slide. See, this is why we're doing this. Oh yeah, oh, the glass slide is giving me all kinds of issues. Wow. I don't know if that's dirt on this slide. This is one that let me see here. Oh yeah, you know, it's got scratches on it and stuff. Oh, it's messed up bad. It's got all kinds of scratches. I don't know from maybe where I cleaned it. So that beam splitter's got to be absolutely no scratches on it whatsoever. And this has got scratches on it. But aside from the scratches, maybe what I'm looking at is the beam. If I can get the beam to come up, that'd be nice. Up. You know what? The beam coming through the glass slide is not as strong. find it. I can't find the beam. It should be right in the middle. I shouldn't have touched that fucking mirror. What the fuck is going on? Damn it. I can't get it to work now. Alright, you gotta get the fuck out of the way. Oh, there we go. Okay. That's where that is located. Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, that's definitely not as strong. And it's got a line through it. That's the glass slide. And this is the plastic CD case. Well, that's got a line going through it too, but that's a much brighter signal. Wow. That's brighter. That's nice, huh? I don't know about getting the... Maybe if I made this dot a little bigger. I don't know about doing this with the dot here. I can't even find the damn dot. It's right there. I might be able to do it. It's actually working. Because I can get... Now to find that fucking dot, there's no way I'm gonna find that. I can't even see it. I should make it a little bigger. I can see the dot, but maybe if I put it close. Two lights. That's the spatial filter shit. Oh, that's sticking way out, ain't it? Yeah, I'm not gonna find that dot today. There's no way. There it is. Okay. I can see it down at the bottom. I can see it at the bottom. look at it with my hand, if I put the light right on top of that fucking dot, and then if I go over there, now let's try the white light. Wow. So the white light has to be further away from the dot in order to narrow that dot down. Ooh. There's a diffraction effect on the dot when you get closer to it. But I can't line it up with the mirror. Let's try. So the glass slide is out as far as the beam splitter because the level seems to be lower. Just out of curiosity, I wonder what happens if I use this ruler. This is a plastic ruler. I'm going to put this in as a beam splitter. Oops, that's the wrong dude. That's not working as a beam splitter, that just reflects the light. I thought I had something else, but I don't. Okay, so let's put the beam splitter back in. Now when I say beam splitter, that means my CD beam splitter. I don't know why in the hell. That's nice, huh? That is nice. How does it do that? It must be because of the way the plastic is made. Okay, I want to grab the first surface mirror. This mirror has two sections to it. One side is first surface and the other is not. We're going to try the one that's not first. That's the one that's not. Can you see that? Yes, you can. So that's the regular mirror. Now I'm going to flip this over, and this is the first surface mirror. Wait, what the hell is going on here? Oh, that's coming from the other mirror, okay. So that mirror adjustment is very sensitive. That's fine. That's the first surface. No, yeah. And this is the normal. They almost look the same, don't they? Now I'm going to take this mirror out, and I've got a piece of metal that I got off of that toy, and that metal is a reflective surface, and let me see, one of them is actually cleaner than the other. It's got distortions in it. And I want to see, okay, so the one with the distortions is on the inside, but I mean it's fairly clear. Both of them are fairly clear, but they're a bit noisy. So let's see, let's do this one here first. And I can probably just put that up here. That's a pretty good job. Oh, it's good. Oh, you know what's weird? There's two dots on one side of the beam splitter. Then when I go in the other direction, there's two other dots. It could be let me put the mirror in and see if it does the same thing with this. Yeah, it's not doing that with the mirror. That's okay. There's like two dots in there. Now let's flip it around and look at the distorted side. I could use it to just hang my laser there. Alright. What is this? That's the pinhole. They don't look too bad, you know? was a little bit, I mean, it's okay, you know. I'll put this up here. Now the next thing we're going to try to do is reflect this aluminum. That's actually a first surface mirror, but it's not, this one's not polished. And let's see if we get a line instead of a dot. And we do. Let me see here. So for whatever reason, this thing is exhibiting a line upon reflection. And I don't know why. Of course there wouldn't be a line there. This is cool shit, you know? Can you see that line? Uh-oh, what happened to my camera? There's a line there, you can barely see it in the camera. Don't pay attention to that dot down at the bottom. Unless if we want to throw it in there. I don't know what the hell it's doing. But yeah, for some reason, the aluminum gives a line on reflection. What I need to do is I need to go downstairs and get that copper and put the copper in there and see what that does. Like, that's kind of weird. I think I can use this CD case. Let's grab this black plastic thing that we was looking at earlier and try to use that to reflect and see what happens here. This ought to be freaking cool right here. Let's see what happens. We should get some reflectivity off of this. If I can find it. Oh yeah, it's there, but it's very weak. Let's see here. This thing would be considered a test object. So I want to reflect the test object back into, oh, you know, I'd have to probably have a lens, a focus lens. It's there, but is that big or is it small or what? Let me reflect it directly here onto this white paper. You know what? This thing has a polarization, I think. I don't know. It's definitely got the noise in it that I was looking for. So if I go further away, that picture gets bigger. It loses energy and the picture gets bigger. It's like it's focusing. So if I take the beam splitter and put it closer, and we want to mirror, yeah, it's hard to do. Oh, there it is. There's the spot. Yeah, it's almost like that's going to be right on top of the beam splitter, huh? By having the test object closer to the beam splitter, I get more energy. Let me try something here. I've got an idea. Let's grab this blue plastic here. Oh, it's not reflecting at all. Wow, okay, that's interesting. Well, of course, it's like solid. Let's do fuck. You know what I need to do? Where the fuck is that moonstone? I want to try this here. This is a shoehorn, and it happens to be chrome, and it's curved. I want to see what this does. This is sort of like a Schlering mirror. It should reflect. Yeah, it's got a line. Oh shit, that's even got a bunch of dots. Come on, where the fuck are you? This is showing dots. And that's a smooth surface. That's interesting. I need to find my crystal. something. I did sleep all day, so I'm a little bit messed up. What time is it? I don't want to go too late. Okay, so I've got a piece of plastic here. I'm just going to shine the laser through it and see. Okay, does it reflect? Yes, it does. Okay, let's put this through the beam splitter. I can't get it to. Yeah, that's just whatever the hell that is. I wanted to try. I got another piece of glass out here. So we tried the glass slide. That wasn't no good, maybe because it was dirty. I have no idea. This one here. This is definitely cleaner than that glass. Let's see how this works as a beam splitter. Now I'm going to have to put the mirror back up there. Wait, let's see. Why can't I use it on the bottom instead? It'd be easier, wouldn't it? Or not. Maybe not. Let's try this one here. Okay, that's the reflected beam. Well, it was. I'm seeing 2 dots here now. 3 dots. What the fuck? What's going on here? Alright, let's try this piece of glass. And see how this works as a beam splitter. Oh, wow. Wow, 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 wow. I see 3 dots, but I think that's because of some other stupid ass anomaly. Let me put this one back up in here. Let's move things a little bit closer. seeing 2 dots though, which makes sense. Alright, so let's get rid of this. And now we're going to put down... Actually, wait a minute. Let's put this back. I'm going to put the first surface mirror in. It looks like I see 2 dots. So let's try this. I think I see 2 dots there. Now let me flip it over. Yeah, I still see 2 dots. Okay, so that could be the aspect of the beam splitter. So let's put this out of the way. Let's put the glass back in, because that mirror that I'm using on the bottom is also, well, I mean, I switched it with the other one. Oh, fuck. Magnets are just grabbing everything here. Wow, that is wait, is that... That's not the beam splitter fucking light. I didn't think it was. What the fuck is going on here? Alright. Now I see 2 dots on the beam splitter. Okay. And that reflected dot, okay, now I'm going to replace this one with this mirror. Yeah, the first surface mirror is making, you know, I think it's pretty good. Now what if I grab the glass and put the glass in there at the same time? Let's see what the fuck happens here. Yeah, that's going to give me 2 dots because I've got 2 beam splitters in there. So let's move this. Put the glass back in. Now that's not as bright. You know what? But you know what else? It's clean. Yeah, that's got noise in it. Wait, let me see that. It's bright. Yeah, it's got the 2 dots too. You know, you can get rid of them dots and line it up. it's a cleaner signal, but it's not quite as bright. Let me see that other piece of plastic. How the fuck did I see that? I don't think I got that here, do I? What did I do? I don't know what I did with it. What is this? There's a piece of plastic. A very nice, clean piece of plastic. Can I get this? Let me see something. Let's try this. I want to see what this does. You know, this works too. This plastic right here. So I got some options for beam splitters, ain't I? This is nice and clean. Like it's super clean. This came off of a phone or something. Let's put this up here. Fuck. Well, okay, so I got this thing here. Let's see what this does. This is a stopper from a sink. Oh, hello. Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to take your stream brew and shove it up you know where. So just bear with me and we'll just take care of that momentarily here. I don't know how long your ass has been sitting there. Take a flame. If you know. This is a stopper. It's got reflectivity, it's got some noise, but it doesn't have, you know, it's not a clear picture. Now that curvature shows dots. It's kind of cool. Yeah, whatever that does. I found this thing here. So this thing here is, I think it's something that you use to screw in screws into cement, and they put this in, and then you put the screw in, right? Well, guess what, homies? This, if you take the little laser light and you put it right up against here, and then you shine the laser light through that, you get a circle. Look how bright that is. Like it's sort of acting like a collimator. Like, see, that's just, you know, you get all this white light, right? And then if I shine the light up close to here, you know, it's very strong. So, I mean, it tells me that the light sources have to be very close to the pinhole or to the knife edge. Now you get all this other stuff here, okay? If you move it back, it's like you're focusing, you know? Now when we put this on, this has got a nice cut hole in the end of it. Watch this. That's fuzzy. If I move it away, it goes out of it. It loses energy. But if I put it here, it kind of it gives me a sharp. image, whether I want, but it does cut down on the intensity quite a bit. So that was that thing. Well, now I've got glass. I've got the glass, the CD case, and I got that other piece of plastic. Works good for beam splitters. I figured that out. What else? The fact that I wanted to find. I tell you what I can do. Let's use this ruler. Actually, let's go even further. Let's put this back here because it's got a magnet on it. We'll line this back up, get our secondary beam. Oopsie daisy. Alright, that's our secondary beam. Now, let's try this piece of plastic that's got the noise on it and see if we can reflect that back into. Actually, let's flip it over. Actually, even better than that, let's put the mirror in here and find out if we can get that in there. We should be able to get two circles. Alright, there's the two dots. Let me try the glass. Okay, there's the glass. So what we're doing here is we're comparing a test object beam to the calibration beam. So the glass seems to work nice. Now let's try this frosted piece of plastic here. And I'm hoping I can get some kind of reflectivity off of this. Oh, there it is. There it is. Now let's flip it over. And I can't find it because it's not the reflected side. So moving that away is causing it to go dimmer. If I move it closer, it gives me a brighter signal source, and the size doesn't seem to be changing that much. Yeah, that's interesting. And I can't get this reflected side to do anything. So this would act better as a, oh, wow. Wait, let me take the light and go through this. Let's do it this way. see the dots, the two dots from that. Now I think I could use a razor blade and split them two dots, you know what? Because if I can see the difference in them two dots right there, but I can't reflect off of this opaque side. What I need is a stone. And I gotta go into this bag to get one, I think. Oh, I know what's missing. I know what's missing. Wait. Instead of, you don't use that as a reflector. You put the mirror in. Let me bring this back up here. I was doing something wrong. Fuck. I gotta get this figured out so I know what the hell I'm doing when I build it, you know? So what? Oh, why don't I just use the bottom mirror? Okay, where's the little plexiglass? So we go down here, and then we take this and we use this. This is the test object. So now my question is I need to move this beam up here further. Move this down here. Uh-oh, it's going to break on me. Move this up here. It closer emulates my system. You know what? That top mirror, the top mirror sections into the beam splitter is quite sensitive. Okay, that's fine. Now let's try to put this in here and put this down here. I don't know why there's a line there. I wonder if there needs to be a lens. Because my test object's going to be like, I only have 2 inches, 1 to 2 inches to play with on the other side. Yeah, I don't know. It's actually reflecting on here. mirror, surface, mirror. You know what? Damn it, I can't find this fucking spot here. Okay, oh, this one's got the two images. This even has a diffraction pattern. I can see it right on the glass. Well, that one's got it too. But it's brighter though. That image is, well, you know what? It's really, I mean, it is brighter. Well, no, it doesn't seem to be. Oh, where did my fucking plastic go to? Here it is. That's just reflecting over there. That's the rough side. That's the shiny side. Huh. I don't know why that's so damn far away from the mirror. I think it's it's reflecting off of this more than it is from the mirror. Fuck. I need to go get that stone. I'm having the reflection issue more than anything else, and my bag's not here. I'm almost done with this tonight. I think I made some progress. I'll explain this other little interesting tidbit in a minute here too. Alright, so I've got this is the first time I've done this. This would be considered, I should have my, oh, that's a crystal skull. What the hell? Oh, it's moonstone. A moonstone crystal skull. Ooh, I need to get my glove. I don't know how they went. There's a lot to do with this, you know. And then you get to a point where you got to do this. You got to play with this and figure out, you know, do some trial and error, you know. I just didn't get my mirror backing plate done. That's been 2-3 days in the making now. Alright, so let's take out this moonstone skull with my latex gloves so I don't get no oil on it. We've got a mirror that backs the signal back into the white paper. You may not be able to see it, but I can see it, so. Alright, now. Oh, that skull really lights up good, don't it? It's just not lined up well. Oh, that is nice. I got a weird fucking anomaly happening. It's only showing half of the picture. It's not showing the whole picture on that damn white screen. I don't know why the hell it's doing that, you know? Why the hell is it blocking it off? It's like half the screen's fucking missing. Yeah, I fixed it with the beam splitter. You know, so what's happening is that the light is bouncing off of the object when it's right up close to the mirror. Oh, that is sweet. But why does it act like it's so far away? What if I brought the mirror up closer? If I could move the mirrors closer. Oh, you fucker, you. Don't you fucking break on me. God damn it, I think it broke. Wait. I mean, it didn't like break, but still. Let's get this up here. That's like half the distance closer. So what I've got to be able to do is I've got to be able to move the test object around the beam. So that went well. You know, it seems like I can go closer with my setup. But, of course, if I move the beam splitter down, I think I can go closer. So now what I'm going to do, I've got something else here. Let me put this away. I slept all day, so my sleep cycle's all frigged up. That's fine. So we got something else here. This is going to be my final little thing here. I'm going to show you something. If you've ever heard of it, it's called the moire pattern. And these little bags that have these little jewelry trinkets in it and stuff, they can develop a moire pattern. See it? Now if I take another bag, well, that's just because of the reason why those interference lines are happening is because these bags have really, really small squares in them. And so what I want to see is if I can magnify that interference pattern on this with this laser. So let's see what happens here. So I got my beam. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I'm seeing the patterns on the item itself. There's like dots. It's like 4 or 5 dots on there. What if I use the white light? This magnet's creating havoc over here. Yeah, you really can't see it with a white light because it's too bright. Let's see if we can do this little trick right here. Now this might be something else that I need to do because I've been messing with this laser. What about this thing here? Let's try. You know, but that's where you get the Schlering effect. You put that concave lens in the back. Let's try. not sure I know what else to do. So I got glass, the plastic, and the CD case for the beam splitter. Oh my frickin' god, this fucking magnet. Did I lose something? I lost my mind. I want to try the laser to this device. Does it actually work? Oh, you know what? I can see the diffractions on the edge of that, where that hole is. It's actually like magnifies. If I go, well, what the fuck? No, let's see here. Let's try this one here. It doesn't work as much. I'm not sure what else to do. I think I can move the mirrors closer. That's what I think. I bet I could go with, let's see here. So if I use the metric scale, I've got 6 inches as 15 millimeters, or 15 centimeters. So that's 30 centimeters is 12 inches. 2.54 centimeters per inch. That's like 30 minus 5 is 25 centimeters. See, if I went shorter with the 2 main mirrors, I got more room for the test object and a little more room for the top mirrors. And the front mirrors need to have more space. The only problem is the beam splitter as far as the 2 signals, and whether or not I can take a razor blade. I think I'm going to try something. If I can remember what I did with this shit. Maybe in there. I think it's in here. Fuck. Uh-oh, I'm losing my fucking marbles. electronics, you know. I want to get into the noise. I want to get into this shit, you know. But right now, I'm not very happy. I don't know what the fuck happened to them razors. I want to grab this one. Time for a razor blade test. Hopefully I don't cut myself. And the fact that nope, that's just one blade. I gotta make sure I don't touch the end of it. So I'm gonna grab this laser. I'm gonna run this through the beam splitter and see if we can split those two beams. Actually, you know what? Well, actually, ow, damn it, you fuck, get out of the way. So the two beams are side by side. So if I take this razor blade and try to split those two beams, yeah, it can be done. It can be done. It's actually coming from the mirror, not the beam splitter. Alright. Let's see something here. We're getting there. I'm gonna grab me a snack, watch a movie, and go to bed. Alright, where was I? We see two dots, and I think it's a result of I don't know what it was a result of. Alright, we're gonna take the other mirror and see if we can get rid of that dot. I see three dots there, which is kind of cool. But I don't want to see three dots. Where's that piece of metal? Where's the metal? Glass. What the fuck is the metal? Here? So this is the metal. If I just bounce this, or actually even better, I guess you're supposed to line up the dots when you tune the system. But I want this off axis so I can see what the other shit's doing. I think it's the beam splitter. So if it's a beam splitter, that would imply putting the razor blade up close to where, that's exactly where they put it with the slurring test. They put it up near the detector. So we put it up there anyway. I guess that's it, you know. This goes back, that goes back. Those scanner mirrors didn't seem to help me much as I thought they were gonna. I don't know what else to do. Suffering from a little burnout. Ow. Well, actually, you know, I do know what else to do. I got this lens. I tried to use it to focus. But you gotta have two lens. You gotta have a two lens system to focus anything. With this lens, it don't seem to do shit, you know. So let's try this and see what it does. Yeah, it's reflecting more than anything. Oh, there's all kinds of fucking dots on that lens. Oh, it cleans it up. It cleans up the signal. Looks like there's 3 dots, but it gets rid of some noise. Yada yada yada. Alright, I'm done. I guess I figured out what I needed to do, and that's work with the beam splitters. So I gotta work with the mirrors. I gotta build this backing plate. Yeah, this is a typical lens that I have, and it's a small one. But I guess that's it, yeah. I think I could move closer. I don't know if I want to do, if I should go with inches or if I should go metric, really. I should go metric. If I move it in, if I move the mirrors in, I lose resolution. Wait, I don't even think I can move the mirrors in because well, I'm actually looking at another possibility of a different type of tuning cavity using glass instead of that plastic, but anyway, we're getting there. Just a long road to China. But I'm done for the night, and I guess I'm happy with what I did.